My name is Ruth Fletcher, and I am the head of school here at St. Andrew's Schools, and we consist of the Priory, the Prep, and the Preschool, which is a girls' school, a boys' school, and a co-ed preschool. And you are sitting in Jabinski Hall, and this is part of our boys' school. And what we are just so delighted to share with you today more about the Ruler program. But before we go into that, I just want to give a great shout out to the Hawaii Association of Independent Schools and the Pillars of Peace, who brought us here together so that we can learn more about the Ruler program. And a really great shout out to my friend, Phil Bossert, who is the acting executive director of the Hawaii Association of Independent Schools. And Robbie Kane, who is from the Hawaii Community Foundation, and Deanna Deolier, who is the reason we're all here. So we are in our first year of, actually our second year. We finished our first year of the Ruler program, and now we're in our second year. And I want to describe to you the story of how we got to this program, because it's an interesting story. So there is a master's degree in private school leadership that is a partnership between the Hawaii Association of Independent Schools and the University of Hawaii. In around 2010, there was a student in the program, and Phil and I taught in the program. Warren was in the program. Anyone else in the program? I was in the program. Oh, you were in the program? And so when we were in this class, we were learning from each other, and there's this wonderful woman, and her name is Heather Rogers, and she is just a hoot. She's smart as a whip. And she described how she had been tasked to lead the middle school at Sierra Prospect in California. And they had gone through several heads of school, and the temperature of the school was just a little off emotionally. And she had been a big fan of a famous coach named Jack somebody I can't remember. Anyway, this gentleman was a true mentor of hers, and was a firm believer that if you could manage your emotions, then your capacities would be enhanced. And so when he coached people, he not only coached them in their athletic skills, and she was a fine athlete, they also coached in how to manage your emotions. And so she went to Yale, and she had met Mark Brackett, who is the founder of the Ruler program. And she and Mark were friends, and so as a test pilot case, she did all the work at her school to implement it, and I just became an immediate fan. And I just loved it. And at that time, I was working at Punahou School and thought, oh, we could slide it in over here. and I couldn't get any takers. so when I came to St. Andrews, there was this Pillars of Peace grant that I thought matched St. Andrew's Schools just beautifully, because it's a strong and high culture of care community. And I know that I am a firm believer that all learning begins with emotion. And so as a foundational piece for learning, if you understand your emotions, then you are better off at learning. And this has evolved over time from my own understanding of learning. So I went to the Science of Learning conference that was held at the I think it was at Vanderbilt, that was put on by the National Association of Independent Schools. And I met this woman who you probably have heard about, and her name is Mary Helen Amordina Yang, and she wrote this book, Emotions, Learning, and the Brain, and it's just phenomenal. Because now we are learning more and more about brain, how we all learn, and the science of learning is just getting to be tremendous. Coupled with her work, I was also learned from Robert Witt, the former executive director of the Hawaii Association of Independent Schools, about this person, and his name is Dagner Keltner, and he wrote this book called Born to be Good. how to live, the science of a meaningful life. My background is I'm a paleontologist and a paleoceanographer by training, and so this guy I love. And it's because he went through the evolution of how we come to understand the meaning of life, and he is the founder of the Center for the Greater Good at Berkeley. And he doesn't talk about survival of the fittest, he talks about the survival of the kindest. And so this is all about how we relate to each other and how our emotions matter and how we express them and how that is really what makes us unique human beings. So I am a big fan of both of these, and so when the opportunity came to think about how and what we wanted to do here at St. Andrew's Schools, I thought the Ruler program was just an amazing program to implement because it would help set the stage for all kinds of learning, not only for children, but for families and for teachers and adults in the community as well. So when I think about the Ruler program, these are the things I learned along the way and why we are such firm believers in educating about emotions. And these are there are 5 things that I'm gonna say, and you're gonna just say, no kidding, I get that. That's how common sense they are, but they're worth saying. We only think deeply about things we care about. So think about yourself if you're a student. That matters for learning. You need an emotional connection to care. If you're not connected emotionally, you don't care. This is fun. We all have complex emotional feelings. Think about your day. We learn how to make sense of our emotions through experience because it surprises us. So you have to live it. It's really important for us to understand what students are feeling when they're learning. What is their experience? Because that's how we help children learn. Emotions, this is 5, emotions are distinct from cognitive skills. They're very personally relevant to you. So when we try to teach people, if we personalize the curriculum, we must understand the emotions that a child has that is in front of us. So we selected the Ruler program, and I'm not 100% a fan of the acronym. Did anyone go to Catholic school when they were little? All right, I did, and the Ruler means a little bit different thing to me than this, okay? And I'm not kidding, I was left-handed. Boy, the nuns did not like my handwriting. And no one else does either, in case you're wondering. So, but Ruler is great because if you have a person that has similar competencies, and for me, the easiest way to picture this is in athletics. So say you're a great volleyball player and there's someone that is as good of a volleyball player that's standing next to you. The one that will perform and produce better is the one that can regulate their emotions and understand what they're feeling. So the Ruler program walks you through ways of understanding yourself and others. Recognize, first R, recognize the emotions that you have and the emotions that others are having. Understand maybe how they came to be. Label them accurately. This is the hardest part. And even as an adult, I'm like, what was that? What did I feel? It's important to know that this is not easy. Express them appropriately. Imagine yourself all day long expressing your emotions appropriately. And then finally, regulating them effectively. And so, can you imagine a world where children and adults alike could do this? Peace within themselves, peace with others. We might even have peace in the world. So thank you, Pillars of Peace. We're just delighted to be implementing this program. And now I'm tossing it off to Sophie Halliday, who is our Director of Educational Programs here at St. Andrews Schools, and pretty much the wizard of everything curriculum-wise here at St. Andrews. And she will talk us through what we are operationalizing here at St. Andrews.
Hi everyone, I'm Sophie Halliday. As Ruth said, I am Director of Educational Programs here at St. Andrews, and so my team and I have the privilege of implementing Ruler at our school. And so as Ruth said, we were fortunate enough to win a multi-year grant through Pillars of Peace, Hawaii Community Foundation, thank you, to adopt the program, the Ruler program. And it's been a really great journey from last year into this year. And just to give you a little bit of a background, we have always taken social emotional learning really seriously. We have implemented other evidence-based programs like mindfulness and Girl Circle and the Council for Boys, just to name a few, because we really believe that fundamentally you need to create a nurturing, safe, and caring environment where our children feel they could be themselves and therefore excel in whatever it is that they choose to do. So we were so happy that we learned about the Ruler program through Ruth. You heard sort of the origin story of how we came to find out about Ruler. And we were so happy because we really wanted to take social emotional learning further in our community. We wanted to further enhance our climate and community, not only of our students, but also of the adults who care for our children. So that was like a really attractive thing about Ruler that we really bought into very quickly, is that not only do we have to teach our children Ruler, we have to practice it ourselves as adults. So we have to become emotionally intelligent first, or try to, and we have to practice and live it in order for our students to buy into it and be able to effectively identify, regulate, and express their emotions. So it's been a really great journey. We started last year. In October, a small group of us went to the Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence, got trained in the program, and we sort of rolled it out to the adults first. And that was really important to us because we needed to become really familiar with the tools before we could practice it genuinely with our children. So last year was a lot about us learning all about Ruler, learning about the anchor tools and things like that. And then this year we have gone full-blown. We're implementing not only with our faculty and staff, our entire adult community, but also our students. And so we just started that journey. It's been a few weeks since the school year started, but it's been going really well for all of our kids from preschool all the way up to 12th grade. So it's been really fun for us and really just adorable to see the kids in action. And then next year, we'll continue the implementation process by learning more anchor tools and further integrating emotion words and other sort of Ruler anchor tools directly into our curriculum. So that's another thing that was really attractive to us about the Ruler program, is that it's not sort of a one-off thing that you sort of do and then forget about for the rest of the day. It's integrated throughout the school day so that our kids are continually practicing and reminded about the program. Finally, we really were grateful again to be able to implement this program because not only did we want to enhance our climate and community, we wanted our kids to develop very key social emotional learning skills. We want them to be able to manage themselves. We want them to have a growth mindset. We want them to feel efficacious in their learning, and we want them to be socially aware. And so with the grant, we're able to assess where our kids are at specific points in the school year. And we're collecting data to see what kind of effect a ruler might have on our students, as well as our faculty and staff. So with that, I wanted to sort of introduce to you our ruler team. One of the greatest things about this program for us is that we have built a really strong team of adults who are really committed to taking this program forward. So this is like half our faculty. And it has our leadership team on there, our principals are on there, our counselor, our teachers at all different grade levels. They are, they've completely bought in, and they are committed to implementing it within their classrooms so that, again, they're living ruler day to day. And so we have quite a few members of our team here joining us. So if you guys can just raise your hands and wave. So those are our principals back there. Mary Burgess, our chief implementer. I Hirasuno is our data collector and analyst. So we're all here, and we're just so thrilled to have you here. So thank you for making the time this afternoon. So I just wanted to call up I Hirasuna really quickly so she could talk a little bit about the data gathering process.
Hi, my name's I. So I'm the data person for Ruler, so I get the kind of not so exciting and dry slide, but please bear with me. But all joking aside, I think collecting the correct type of data is really important in implementing Ruler correctly and effectively. So this is the kind of data that we collect. So student attendance, such as average daily attendance, yearly absences per student, and we also collect student behavior data. We don't really have suspensions at our school, but we do have, sort of disciplinary action, so we do collect that as well. We also craft and implement surveys to our faculty and staff and students. So there are two types of surveys: the MESH competency, which kind of measures your intelligence in social emotional learning, and the school climate, so basically how you feel about the school. So I feel that those are two very important pieces of the puzzle. And we also collect data on implementation, so how are teachers implementing Ruler in their classrooms, so teacher reflections and activity logs. So a few challenges that we have come across. We don't really want to put too much on the individual teacher because they have so much on their plate already. So rather than having them write pages and pages of reflections and activity logs, we would much rather collect objective data like student attendance. So that way, the onus is on us to collect data, and by collecting objective data, it gives us a better view of how we're doing in Ruler. So yeah, so that's data. And I'm going to pass it off to Mary Burgess. She's the team leader of the Ruler team.
Oh, thanks, Thank you. All right, this will just kind of slide into what we want to get out of this program, and because we're collecting that data, we want to replicate the data that's come from programs like this that build emotional intelligence. And so we know that emotionally intelligent students, it shows to have less anxiety, have less depression, less likely to abuse drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes, and are less aggressive and less likely to bully others. And I think these are all very important pieces in a school environment that we're hoping to replicate. Also, greater leadership skills, more attentive and less hyperactive in school, and they perform better academically. So we're looking at things like this, and we're hoping that these are things that we can also speak to when we're done rolling this program out. As far as the teachers go, this is beautiful stuff. So teachers that are practicing tools to help with this emotional intelligence show more positive emotions in school, greater support from their principals, less stress and burnout, and greater job satisfaction. So all of these things, yes, sign me up, right? And then just one more, so in a classroom environment, what does this look like? The kids are overall more engaged in learning. They have better quality relationships with their teachers, demonstrate increased pro-social behavior. I think this is more important now than ever, and perform better academically, which also matters. So these are just some things that come from the Ruler program that they share out that I thought I wanted to share with you guys as well, because we're trying to replicate this information. We do it through anchor tools. So Ruler offers, these are the 4 main anchor tools that we're working with here at the school. We have touched and started the charter, which I'll give you some examples in just a moment of what that looks like, both with faculty building that out and also with students now that we're rolling that out with them. The mood meter is beautifully intuitive. It's fun, and it's kind of this beautiful way to check in with not only yourself, but also with your students in a way that is not so intimidating, and might be fun. And teachers can get really creative with this, which is really fun too. They can take it in all different angles and kind of personalize it. So that's great. And then there's the meta moment, which we're going to be rolling out in semester 2. And it's just kind of what do we do when there's that triggered reaction that's about to happen when we have an emotion. And then the blueprint, which will also roll out beginning next year. But these are all of these tools are very user friendly, which is really nice, not only for the teachers but also for the students at all grade levels. So I'm kind of in charge also of distributing curriculum to the teachers and trying to make it as easy as possible for them to roll this out with their classes. So in August and September, we're kind of just doing a slow progression. We certainly don't want to overwhelm, especially this time of year. And so we're just kind of working on building this classroom charter. And I think it's great timing because we're kind of establishing norms in the classroom, all of that. And then in October, we're looking at the mood meter and going to start practicing that in the classroom. November, we're continuing that practice and renewing our charter. So the charter is nice because it's a living document, and it's something that you can go back and revisit and refer to in times of, relevance. And then in December, we'll continue with the mood meter. And then semester 2, we start a new anchor tool. But that's just kind of how it looks. It's not in your face, as far as like trying to hand off to teachers, but we're just trying to roll it out as smoothly as possible. So over our faculty beginning professional days, before the students came back, we had this built-in time to create a faculty charter, and we did it with our division, individual divisions. So we had lower school.
Can you explain what the charter is?
Yeah, so the Emotional Intelligence Charter is a document that asks the question, and I love the first question especially, how do you want to feel? And I don't know any other workplace that I have gone to in my experience that asks me, how do you want to feel when you go to work? Like you care about that? You want to know how I want to feel? This is good stuff. So asking the question, how do you want to feel? And coming together as a group and establishing what are the main things we want to feel when we're at work. And the second question is in regards to what are we going to do to perpetuate these feelings, kind of behaviors. What are specific behaviors, measurable behaviors that we can look at and chart and practice. And then the third question is when these feelings aren't being met, which they won't be all the time, there will be conflict. What will we do in that situation? All very beautiful questions to ask. within as a teacher, and then also in your classroom. So that's kind of what we did as a faculty. So our principals and the ruler team kind of led the divisions through that, and it was beautiful conversation. I mean, we could have spent the whole day. I was up there with the upper school, and it's just rich, and it's good. So we did that and came up with, and these are just drafts, so don't judge. These are the beginning process. And again, we can go back and we can make them more beautiful and all of those things. And it may be kind of hard to see, but the lower school Priory Charter, they wanted to feel supported, respected, happy, safe, and they had their kind of kind of their behaviors there. And then the prep kind of put just the emotions that they wanted to experience there at the school. And also what's nice about this is you can see the commonality. These are human things, and so that's just a few examples. High school, upper school, we were a little more like all over the place, and then just kind of drafted it out, but we're going to make that more pretty at a later date. And then the Queen Emma Preschool, who is also part of the St. Andrews Schools, built theirs. And I want to share with you a video of what they actually came up with. They got very creative with their charter. And so hopefully this works, but I'd like you guys to really listen here.
We, the teachers of Queen Emma, want to love every day. We'll be kind to one another and valued in every way. Hey! We will smile at each other while we share, listen, and praise. We will offer helping hands each and every day. Yeah!
Yeah, so that's our preschool.
The social emotional genius.
So perfect, yeah, so perfect. And then we've started to roll this out in the classroom, so I just want to share a couple examples. So this is the first grade girls side, and they did this within the first week, and the teachers are coming to me and saying, we did our charter, and they're excited about having done it, and they enjoy the process. And that's a nice thing when you're rolling out a new program, that the teachers are invested and enjoying the process so far. And so that's just kind of a nice, neat example of things that they wanted to feel, a lot of happiness, a lot of love and fun in first grade, so that's always good. And then in high school, and you can't really see this one very well, and my apologies for that, but this was Hawaiian language class, and they were actually doing theirs in Olelo, Hawaii, and doing, coming up with the feeling words in the Hawaiian language. And I think Miss Bailey Walsh also does that with the K through 5, yeah.
We started with our emotion words, but we had students translate them into Hawaiian.
Yeah. So that's just an example of personalizing it and kind of making it your own. And so anyway, we're just very, very grateful to have the opportunity to roll this program out. And so far it's suited us quite nicely. It's a good fit. And we just continue to journey on with enthusiasm and are here to answer any questions. Should you?
Can you describe the mood meter for everyone? Go back to the picture, because I think that to me was just a really easy way of thinking about emotions.
Yeah, the mood
Describe
meter.
how-
I almost brought some of the swag, like the big poster and the little magnets. And if you do end up going with the ruler program, there's a lot of swag involved, which is nice. The mood meter is a lot of fun. So I can't really move, but you guys can see it's a quadrant, and you can establish as far as energy level goes. That's on the y-axis is energy level. Y is this, right? It's been a long day.
The vertical axis is energy.
Is energy level. And the horizontal is pleasantness. Is this emotion pleasant? Is it unpleasant? And they don't like to speak the language of negative versus positive. because that has a certain connotation. But pleasant versus unpleasant. I think that's kind of nice.
So play with them.
So for instance, where would I be on the mood meter? I'm pretty good as far as energy goes. It's 5 in the afternoon on a Thursday, so I'm probably in the, let's see, I'd say I'm probably in the green, actually, because I'm feeling nice emotionally. I'm not feeling very nervous with you folks. You guys are so nice and peaceful. And then, so the energy. So I would probably be in the green somewhere. I would probably give that word, and this is the work. This is the practice, trying to find a word to describe your emotion. I would say content right now. So you can do it with yourself, you can plot yourself on the mood meter.
I'm not as emotionally sophisticated as my
Oh.
friend Mary. Seriously.
No.
So I think of this in a much simpler way. So look at the colors. Okay, high energy, not so happy. What am I? Hot or angry, right? Red hot or angry. All right, I have lots of energy and I'm feeling pretty awesome. I'm yellow and I am sunshine, I'm joyful. All right, here I am not feeling very pleasant and I have low energy, I'm sad or blue
Yep.
or depressed.
Yep.
And then obviously I have not had as many words as my friend.
Yeah.
And then here, high degree of pleasantness and low energy, green,
Mellow,
mellow, peaceful.
yeah.
So this is super fun to do at parties. You bring your mood meter.
Oh, man.
It's also good to put your, okay, so just for fun, and then you can see how much fun you can have with this. All right, just for fun, you put yourself on the meter. You don't need the word, you can just put yourself on there.
Yeah.
And then put your spouse on the meter, or your partner, or your good friend. No, isn't that fun? And then tell your spouse or friend where you think they are, and have them tell you where they think you are. Very much learning experience.
Yeah.
But you can imagine if you go into a group meeting at school and you walk in and you say, "Oh, let's do the mood meter. Where are you?" So at faculty meetings, we go in and we go, "Okay, everyone, where are you?" You don't have to reveal out loud. Okay, because you never know. But I'm always right around here.
But that's the expressing emotions appropriately, right? So we're using that other part.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I have found this one amazing. And then there are words that go in each
Yep,
of those little
yep,
boxes.
yep.
That's crazy. So
Yep.
so that you can really become more emotionally intelligent because you can have words and language. And can you imagine a 5-year-old saying they're content? Content. That's pretty sophisticated. So this is my favorite because I think it's so much fun.
Yeah, it's a
And
good one.
I use it all the time for fun because I like to play, as you could probably tell. And this I think is really fun. Kaipo used this one. This is, as sometimes if you're a supervisor or principal or you're managing people, they're like, "I'm having a meta moment." Like, that's a good thing to say to people because it gives everyone 30 seconds or more to just adjust.
Yeah.
And I haven't used this one yet, so I don't know.
We will, don't you worry.
Still learning.
But just wanted to close and hand this off to Tiana now, and just thank you all for being here and sharing the time and space. And here's Tiana.
Pulling up ours.
Hi, everybody. Thanks again for coming. And actually we can just skip to the next one. But I want to just start to talk about our journey of how we are where we are today in this room, because I think it's actually really significant in thinking about whether or not you decide to join and engage with the Ruler program. So this actually started for us, HIS and Pillars of Peace and Robbie, back last year at Schools of the Future conference. So I don't know how many of you were participants last year at that conference, but Mark Brackett from Ruler was our social emotional learning keynote speaker. And he blew our minds. I don't think we've ever, well, at least I've missed a couple of years of Schools of the Future, but we we're amazed at how many heads of schools, principals, educators came up to us and said, we need this in Hawaii. We need Mark back. And so I kid you not, I think it was the next week I looked at, we got to plotting and we, called Mark and we said, how do we get you back? And he said, actually at the time, 20 schools, and that number is now up to 25. But he said we need 20 schools, 25 schools to engage in the program, to commit to the program, and we can come to you. So that was the key for us. And that was what started our journey, was figuring out, how do we get enough funding, enough support, enough momentum to get 25 schools committed to engage in the Ruler program. So through Ravi's diligence and us just continuing, I think, to take leaps here and there, I think it was sometime in the middle of the summer, she called and said, well, we have the funding. And it was one of those like, oh great, now what? But it just kept snowballing. And so not only is Ruler coming to Hawaii in December, Mark is coming with Ruler. So I think that's really significant, because for those of you that remember Mark, he is just exceptional. And I think as a trainer and as a presenter and sharing the program, that adds tremendous value to the overall experience in general. Having their eyes dialed into Hawaii, I think, is a real feather in our cap. So just jumping in, the Ruler program is awesome. You heard about the full implementation. I'm not even going to attempt to speak to that. All I can think of right now is, Phil, we're starting staff meetings with how do we want to feel when we come to work. But beyond that, even if you come and participate as a professional development opportunity for your educators, I think that as we all take that time to learn the words, I mean, that's what stood out from Mark's presentation at Schools of the Future last year, is learning how to identify what we feel and then help our kids learn how to identify what they're feeling is the starting point to all of this. And so if we can even engage in enough professional development to get us to that point, then it's a win, and it's a win for our students. But it does by, engaging in the program. I think everybody from St. Andrews did a great job of speaking to that. This is all hands on deck. I don't think there's a halfway with implementing the program if it's going to be effective. And I think that's where the kids see the benefit. We'll jump ahead. So about Ruler, the training dates here in Hawaii will be the 6th and the 7th. They'll be back here at St. Andrews. So thank you again for continuing to partner with us and support. They will be it's going to be neat also, because we'll have them here to kind of jump in throughout the training along with the team from Ruler and Yale. And Robbie's going to get into the funding part, so I'm going to skip that for now, but that is the cost of the program, and that includes 3 people trained here, and then we'll just jump ahead now. During the training, right, the purpose right now is to train the trainer. It helps you dive in to figure out, the emotional language and skills needed to figure it out yourself first before we bring it back to the kids, which makes sense. Lots of hands-on activities, and then practice figuring out, I'm sure, using things like the mood meter and the other tools that go along with Ruler. For the participants, you get support by doing the 2-day program, the 2-day training. You also are going to get support for the entire coming year. So it's not just the one-off. You will get, and as you guys were talking about swag, I haven't seen the swag, but our understanding is that you get all the support along the way. You get the process, you get all the materials to help implement, and then you get the support from Ruler ongoing. So you'll have your coaching sessions, webinars, communities, the newsletters, etc. So that continues for the entire following year. What's required, the whole team would have to commit to the full 2 days. So the 3 people would need to commit to the full 2 days of the training, but we're giving you breakfast and snacks and lunch, so and good company, so it should be great. And then through the support, that's when you'll roll out the training to the rest of your faculty and staff. I think that's good with that. Let's keep going. And off to Robbie. So Robbie's going to talk about the application, our timeline. It's a little convoluted, but we can answer questions along the way.
Thanks, Dan. Okay, I'm doing the business part for the application. So if you did not get something emailed to you and you want to take a hard copy with you, we do have some on the side with the information flyers and the application and registration forms, but they also are easily emailable, and it's on the link through HAIS. So first off, thank you all for being here. Deanna mentioned the funding, and I just want to recognize our partners from Kamehameha Schools, who are one of the funders here, which actually is the reason that we have a question in the form about where is your school located, because we do have a preference from some of our funding for certain locations, in that case for the Campbell-Eva district in particular. So I'll go into some more detail about that, but we just want to thank and recognize Kamehameha Schools for their funding and help. The other fund at the Hawaii Community Foundation, the other two funds at Hawaii Community Foundation that are supporting this is the Koaniani Fund and the Omidyar Ohana Fund, which is the big supporter of the Pillars of Peace program. So through those three donors, we're going to be able to support a number of schools, not all of them, but we'll be able to support a number of schools to be part of the program. So we do have a scholarship available for schools to do this. We are really excited to bring Ruler. As Deanna was sharing, the response to Mark Brackett was incredible. He has been fantastic to work with. The mood meter, actually, that Ruth loves so much is a app that was developed with Hope Lab, which is another Omidyar funded program. So Hope Lab, who worked with us in developing our social emotional learning program at the Community Foundation, worked with Mark and his team to put the tools that he was using on paper into an online app. And actually I used to have it on my phone, but I went to look for it and I moved it somewhere else. But it is a fun tool to use, as are all of the tools that he's developed out at Yale. So we do have the information for you already, but let me just kind of walk you through this. So there's two levels of this. There are people who can afford to apply for the program and don't need to do the financial help through us, don't need to apply for the scholarship. And so you just have a registration form. It's a very simple form. You know, you're committing to be part of the program when you do this. It's the first page, if you picked up the hard copy. It's just basic information about who are your participants going to be. The $6,000 covers 3 participants to be part of the training. Any additional participants are $1,500 each, and I think you can only do 2 more. Can you do 2 more, or is it unlimited? Okay, 2 more. So how many did you take when you went up, Mary? 4? Yeah, so, but this training is for 3, and then if you do additional people, it's $1,500 each for the additional people. We're asking you some really simple questions on the registration form. We just want a brief description of your school, the students in your community that you're working in, some basic demographic information, and part of this goes back to the need for collecting data around what you're doing, and a way to also to provide information to our donors. We're asking you to describe any SEL programs you're already delivering, if you are, because a number of the schools that we work with do multiple SEL programs in their school. They don't just pick one. Sometimes different ones for different grade levels because of the age differences, and sometimes they're trying to layer different programs on top of each other. So we do want to know about that. We do ask that you verify that you are a school in good standing, so of accreditation report or anything that shows that you are indeed a legitimate school. And then we really, this is important, we want a letter of commitment from the principal or head of school And this is critical to not just this program, but all of our social emotional learning programs that we do. We found in our first year of doing a pilot in 2015 to support some schools that the schools who did not have the support of their head of school had the hardest time implementing the program. So you could have the most dedicated teacher, the most dedicated counselor trying to deliver a program, and if the head of school is not behind them, it just didn't work. So we are requiring that you have a letter of commitment from your principal or head of school. And that's for everybody. Everybody needs to do that, okay? And that application is due on October 6th if you want to be part of this. And the next part of that, the application document, this registration document behind that is the scholarship application. So if you feel that your school needs help, you are eligible to apply for this scholarship. We're going to ask you just a few more questions. So one is where you're located because of the Kamehameha Schools funding. There is some preference for that. We are going to ask you to explain why you're interested in the ruler program for your school, why you think you need the program at your school, and explain how you are thinking of moving forward with it. Once you have the training for your faculty and staff, what are you going to do next? And I want to just emphasize here for myself and from Hawaii Community Foundation for our social emotional learning program. To me, the ruler program at this point is really about your faculty and staff learning more about SEL and how important emotional intelligence is. There is no requirement at this point that you then continue with ruler after. I know you'll hear from St. Andrews that it's been great, and that is what they would recommend you do. But in what we're doing around SEL as a whole, there are a range of SEL tools available for schools. Some are very easy to implement, some are a lot more difficult, some go a little bit more surface, some are very deep, some are free, some are very expensive, and some, they're different depending on your student population. So what we think is more important is that you find one that's a good fit for your school and one that really resonates with your faculty and staff, because the key piece is the quality implementation of the program. So if your faculty and staff are not behind the program you pick and aren't willing to implement it well, then it's not going to work anyway. So this is more about, let's get the faculty and staff at a point where they really understand emotional intelligence, understand where SEL can take them and their students. And if this is the one that resonates for you, great. If it's not, there are other tools out there and there are options out there. So we just want to know, what are you thinking about doing with your knowledge that you learn from the ruler program as you move forward? Because at the end of the day, the key goal for us is that you do an SEL program at your school. You start going in this direction because all of the research has shown that this is really critical to the future career and future success for your students. And then we are just out, why are you requesting financial assistance? I mean, there's the obvious, because we need help. But if you can be a little bit more specific, that would be helpful. And then if you think you can pay for part of it, if you can do $3,000, and then we would, you're asking for the other half of help. If you can put that in, then that will spread the funds around to a few more schools. If you really need help for the whole $6,000, then please be honest and put that, and we'll look at that as well. And for the neighbor island schools, we do have travel grants. So that's a whole separate one. So any of the neighbor island schools are eligible to apply for a travel grant, and we will provide air, ground transportation, and hotel accommodations and per diem for those coming for the neighbor islands, because we don't want to make this just an Oahu program. Okay, so that's the last page, and that one's really simple. That one's just give us the names of the people coming, and then we do reimburse the school, not the individual. So, okay, so we are, and that deadline is September 29th. So if you think you need financial assistance of any type, we need you to be getting in your application form, not the travel one too, but getting your application form, especially for the scholarship, by the 29th. And we'll let you know right away whether or not you've made the cut in terms of your need, as well as first come, first serve. So once we run out of funds, we've run out of funds. Then you can finalize your decision about whether or not you're going to still be able to participate in the program. So if you really, really need it, the full support, for instance, and we only have $3,000 left, and you can't come up with the other $3,000 to do this, then you can just withdraw. But we'll need you to commit by October 6th, whether or not you need financial assistance to do this. Okay. Then the next deadline, then once the schools have committed to the program on October 6th, we're asking by October 20th that you have your first deposit in. So the schools that are paying the full $6,000 will need to have a deposit of $2,000 to HAIS, to Deanna Guys. The schools that get a financial award, obviously, if you get a full financial package, you don't need to have any deposit in. If you get a partial one, you won't need to, if you get at least $2,000 financially, you won't need to do that deposit. You'll need to do the final payment piece on November 13th. Okay, I know that's a little bit confusing. There's a lot of different dates, and we've played around with that a lot, trying to make this work. But I think it works. But if you have any questions, you can always call me or Deanna. And any of the forms come to Hawaii Community Foundation, to Natalie, who's in the back there, and I should introduce Natalie and Beth from the Hawaii Community Foundation as well. So all of the forms come to us, but all the money goes to Deanna. I'm not sure how that worked. They have an easier way to process it. So I think you were all, if you were sent the information and you found out about this, you were all sent these links, right? And we will follow up with you with this information as well. We are recording this presentation so that we can have it online for people who have missed it. So if you know somebody who's interested in learning more about it, couldn't be here tonight, we will have the video available online, and we will have the PowerPoint presentations available as well. If you need us to email the link to this information to somebody else, if you let us know that as well. The registration and application forms is actually a fillable PDF if you get it electronically. If you want to take a hard copy, just because that's better for you, you can do that and mail that in. But it's just easier to do that form. Natalie turned it into a PDF for us, a fillable PDF for us. And the Yale Ruler site, if you have more questions about the Ruler program, is up there as well. And our contact information, Deanna and mine's, is up there. And we can send that to you. You're gonna send the PowerPoint out.
I'll send, once we have the video live, I'll email everybody who's here. And if you didn't register to be here actually tonight, please check in with us so that we can get your email address and follow up accordingly. But we'll go ahead and email you the link to the video from tonight if you'd like to share it with others from your school. It'll be on their website. There'll be a link on our website under the Ruler, the HS Ruler page. And so we'll follow up with that, and then we'll send some reminders about deadlines.
Right. So I think that's the business piece,
Yes.
right? So I think I've covered it all. So anybody, I want to just open up to any questions from anybody, and I know there's more of the St. Andrews team that are happy to share some of their personal experiences so far, who have some stories about how the program's been in this first year, both for themselves and delivering to the students. So if anybody has any specific questions?
You talked about the charter and the mood meter. What the meta moments or the processes that the kids or adults use to respond effectively, and also the blueprint to help with problem solving conflicts. What do those entail? How does Ruler address that?
Mary, you want to come up and?
Yeah, so it's the, oh shucks, I was gonna put the poster back on there. The meta moment is just a 6-step process, and it's got the different steps that Ruler kind of draws out. And I can't recite the steps to you right now, it's a little late. So in that way, you're just following steps that they've laid out for you, kind of like the recognition, and then taking a breath, thinking of your best self, and then responding skillfully versus just the knee-jerk reaction that we tend to have. So that's the meta moment piece. And then the blueprint is also just a kind of a way to solve conflict. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've heard of nonviolent communication. but it's kind of along those lines where you're looking not only at your own feelings, but how that person felt. And it's really, again, just very intuitive in the way that it's almost scripted, where fill in the blank. I felt blank, he felt blank, you know, so it's kind of this script in order to, for conflict resolution. So those are, well, it is a blueprint, I suppose I should say, for conflict resolution. So those are kind of the two, and we haven't rolled those out with our students yet, and but we will. And so yeah, those are just a couple of the tools, the other tools. Yeah. Any other questions?
Can I just share one piece of information, please? So Nalani, who's here from Kamehameha Schools, let me know that also included in that special preference on the funding is our schools in the Aiea, Moanalua, Radford, Pearl City, Waipahu, Eba, right? So if any schools that you know in that area that are interested.
On the handout it says that this program that's on December 6th and 7th is phase 1 of the program. How many phases are there?
That's a great question, and we had so many similar questions for Mark and team. So there are multiple phases. However, each phase kind of takes you, and you guys can probably speak to this better because you're in phase 2 now. Each phase kind of adds another layer to the program. So with the ruler training and engaging in phase 1, you can certainly run with that and leave it at that. I think it would then be a process throughout the following year as you're working through with your faculty and staff to determine whether it makes sense for your school to engage any further. And if you need to engage any further with the elements of the program. So on their website, it goes into more details of what you get at each phase of the program. But again, you know, by doing the training and doing phase 1, which will carry you through the first year, that would certainly be enough as a starting point, and then an opportunity to rethink and reevaluate whether or not you would like to engage with the other portions of the program. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to the phases.
So those anchor tools that you saw, that's all within the first phase. And then I think in year 3, we're going to roll out the feeling words curriculum, which is part of phase 2. It's more granular. So I think this phase 1 is the foundational kind of piece, and then they start to get, like she said, deepening in the practice. So yeah, I think we're going to hit a little bit of phase 2 and then kind of evaluate where we want to go from here. But yeah.
During the data collection tools, I think it was the PowerPoint, it had a mesh, if I remember it correctly, mesh inventory. Can you describe that a little bit, and what is it intended for? What does it measure? Or assess?
Oh, okay. Okay. I'm sorry. So I kind of totally blanked on what MESH exactly stands for. I think it's mindsets, emotional, social, habits, something like that. Yeah.
Mindsets, essentials.
Essential skills. Yeah. But basically, it's more of a personal measure of how well you are at social emotional learning. So it measures something like independence, resilience. There's other aspects that it measures, but it's more of it measures each student's capacity for social emotional learning. The other survey was for school climate, so it's more about how students feel about the school. So theoretically, if they have good, social emotional intelligence, they should feel better and more satisfied with the school itself.
So
Yeah.
they use that as a pre to determine
Yeah.
where students are at, and then later in the survey.
Right. So we'll implement the survey soon to the students, sometime this month or next month, and then we'll do a post survey end of the year, so around May. Yeah.
For adults.
Yeah, adults too. Yes.
Question to go back to the phases. How many phases are there?
So currently they list 3. I will say that Ruler is also undergoing some changes right now, and they'll be updating their site. We don't fully know how they're shifting, but I think from our understanding it might end up looking more like a part 1 and 2, or phase 1 and phase 2. I think they're trying to simplify it and also combine a little more in the second. That was what they alluded to in our conversation. They wouldn't make any promises to us, but I think they're in a constant kind of reevaluation of what is effective for schools, which is wonderful because they're growing. But yeah, so I think for right now you could count on the phase 1 for sure, and then reevaluating, and then deciding whether or not you'd continue. And it sounds like there'll just be like that option for phase 2, which gets more granular in the weeds, understanding the language surrounding social emotional learning a little bit deeper.
And is the pricing comparable to phase 1?
It's less, but yeah, it's less. But again, they wouldn't tell us how that's shifting,
Okay.
but it is less than phase 1.
I apologize if I'm asking something that you covered when I was not here, because I came late. How well does this Ruler program connect with advisory programs?
Oh, that's a
Where-
great
where's
question
the
for you
overlap,
guys.
or how do you guys-
Yeah, why don't you, yeah, can you jump up?
Yeah. You add.
Yeah, sure.
I'm only going to share my view, and then I'll ask our implementers to share theirs. The way we were looking at this from our school's perspective is that this program was foundational, and it was the base or the bowl that held everyone together, and then everything else is added onto it, because we had so many other social emotional learning programs that were already in place. We have mindfulness, we had girl circle, and so all of these things were really very well developed. And so we thought this was a foundation that we all could count on and lean on, so that we'd all have it. And then, so that's why I really like the way this is being rolled out, because I think the first year for us was actually a lot of fun, because we did it as adults and were then able to speak about these emotions, because we all have them and they're crazy sometimes. And it's really nice to have language for them that you can share socially. And the other part is we didn't actually go in the exact order of how the Ruler program suggested. And because we started going down the path of doing a charter, we weren't ready. We actually didn't want to do a charter. No one wanted to do one. We had like a little revolt. And so we just backed up a little and said, oh, okay, well, that's telling us something. What is that telling us? What is that saying about where we are right now? And then we did it differently. But we learned a lot. And so you'll learn a lot about your own culture and your own school and how people manage. And that's what I liked about the Ruler program. Even though they lay it out, you can hopscotch them or move them or shuffle them the way you wish. So, do you want to add?
Also, kind of speaking to like advisory. So mindfulness is an advisory period, and so the students have experienced, looking at emotions for several years now. So this is nothing terribly new, and so it's not foreign to be mindful of emotions. And so it's nice because I can use it in mindfulness, and use that language and things like that. And we can use it in other advisories as well, So it fits in classrooms, it fits for advisories, it's in assemblies for the upper school principal. So we're kind of using it in this overarching way, and it's a nice fit in many places. So yeah, that helps.
Yeah, what we have, so we do tribes. We've always wanted to be better at doing tribes. And then I think, we've also started rolling out a kind of a newer, more robust advisory program in our secondary. That's really, kind of modeled after the Wildwood program. We send people out for training. So just trying to figure out how this would kind of support our efforts in those areas and complement and,
Yeah, I think it is. It's It's one of those like universal, you know, social emotional touches, all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't think of it as separate.
Right.
So it's just used everywhere.
Right.
Integrated.
Yeah, yes, it's like very foundational. It's hopefully the emotional room that you enter.
Right.
So.
I know you folks are in year 2 of your implementation. I'm just looking at a couple of things. What is the time that you folks devote to staff training? And also, I know you guys aren't in the classroom yet, but is it a classroom rollout? If that's what the eventual year 3 would look like?
Year 2 even.
Okay.
We're starting to roll out with the students in the classrooms.
Okay.
And Sophie can speak to the first question.
Was the first year would be the faculty and staff
Right.
implementation. So how much time do you folks devote to?
Well, professional development by like time and training.
Yes.
So we did, so Sophie can speak to how we did that.
Yeah, sure. So we actually spent probably like we have devoted faculty and staff professional days, and so we took half a day during one of our professional days to sort of talk about the basics of emotional intelligence and talk about the anchor tools and just give a general overview. And then we also took some time to try to roll out the faculty charter, which was fun. We tried. So there was that, and then we took just sort of little chunks of time during our regular faculty meeting schedules to just like touch base, like, hey, let's roll out the mood meter, and then Mary and Leslie, our counselor, like they even like made up a game where they had like these balloons that were like red, yellow, green, and blue, and they would play music and they would sort of bat it around, and whoever caught whatever color balloon, they had to say what emotion that balloon color represented. So we try to make it fun. And
then we took an online class.
Right, and that's the other thing that we didn't mention was that, so this year, all of our faculty and staff have taken an online course that goes through all of the anchor tools. And so, we just asked them, throughout the summer to please complete the course by such and such a date so that everyone had a base knowledge about what the program is. Kaipo, our lower school principal, was mentioning that one of the greatest things about this program is that now we all share a common language. So, it's very different from, one person implementing it in their classroom here and then nobody else knows what you're doing and the kids can't take it with them and use it in a different classroom. But in terms of faculty, staff training time, we took like half a day, and then we sprinkled training and sort of checking in with our anchor tools throughout the school year. And then this year when we came back, we took another sort of 3 hours to do a redo of our faculty charters, but in smaller groups. And again, it was really powerful. I mean, our preschool teachers made up a song, so it was really powerful. It was really beautiful just to see. And then the enthusiasm with which they took it into the classrooms this year has been really awesome. I'll just say too, the program comes with really robust resources. So you don't have to worry about, well, what lesson am I going to develop to, so they make it really easy for you to roll it out within your classrooms, and it's differentiated by grade levels, like grade bands as well. So it's been really great for us because, the last thing teachers want to do after a long day is develop more lessons, and so having the tools there for us, that we can literally photocopy and say, here, try this. And then they have little videos that they can watch with their students or by themselves. Mood meter, literally 3 minutes at the beginning of class, you can do it. And so it's just, it's, as Mary said in the beginning, it's so user-friendly. And as long as you take the online course, which I think I went through that online course like on a Sunday afternoon, like in 2.5 hours or something. I just like went through all the modules. Really easily laid out, easily doable. They quiz you along the way. You know, as long as faculty have that base, it's really easy to implement within the classrooms.